Apple, a name synonymous with innovation, sleek designs, and devices that have transformed the tech world. From the revolutionary first iPhone to the powerful MacBook Pro, Apple has consistently set the standard for modern technology. But today, we're asking a different question. What happens when Apple steps into uncharted territory? Foldable phones are one of the most buzzworthy trends in the smartphone industry right now. Companies like Samsung and Huawei have been pushing the envelope with these devices for years. But rumors suggest Apple is gearing up to join the foldable game. And while that sounds exciting, it also raises some important questions. Is the foldable phone market ready for Apple? More importantly, is Apple ready for the foldable phone market? Here's the thing, Apple has never been first to adopt a trend. They weren't the first to introduce a touchscreen phone, but they redefined the concept with the iPhone. They weren't the first to create a smartwatch, but the Apple Watch now dominates the market. And remember when larger phone screens were considered niche? Apple hesitated, then came out swinging with the iPhone 6 and changed the game. But this time, the stakes are different. Foldable phones aren't just another trend. They're a massive leap in smartphone design. And despite the hype, the market for these devices is still relatively small. Right now, foldables make up less than 2% of global smartphone sales. Compare that to the overwhelming popularity of traditional phones, and you start to see the challenge Apple faces. Let's start with the most obvious hurdle: durability. Foldable phones look futuristic, but they come with significant drawbacks. The flexible displays are prone to creasing, hinges can wear out over time, and these devices often don't hold up well to the kind of daily use most people expect. Samsung's Galaxy Fold faced serious criticism for these issues during its initial launch. Even now, years later, durability remains a major concern. Apple prides itself on creating products that last. Think about the typical lifespan of an iPhone. It's not uncommon to see someone using a model that's 3, 4, or even 5 years old. That kind of longevity has built trust in the Apple brand. But a foldable phone? That's a whole different story. If Apple's version can't handle the wear and tear of everyday life, it won't just hurt the product, it could damage Apple's reputation as a whole. And then there's the price. Foldable phones aren't just expensive. They're some of the most costly consumer electronics on the market. Samsung's Galaxy Z Fold starts at nearly $2,000, and industry experts predict that Apple's version could be even pricier. Sure, Apple fans are used to paying a premium, but at what point does that price tag become a barrier? Most people aren't spending over $1,000 on a phone, let alone $2,000. Even Apple's more budget-friendly options, like the iPhone SE, have proven there's a huge demand for affordable devices. So how will Apple convince consumers to drop thousands on a foldable phone, especially when the benefits aren't immediately clear? Let's dive deeper into the issue of practicality. Foldable phones, as innovative as they seem, still haven't fully justified their existence to the average consumer. Sure, the idea of a device that transforms from a compact phone into a mini tablet is appealing on paper. But in practice, the story gets a bit messier. First, there's the question of reliability. These devices may look sleek, but their intricate designs introduce a host of potential issues. Hinges that can wear out, displays that are more susceptible to damage, and even dust or debris becoming a problem for the mechanism. For Apple, which has built its brand on seamless design and reliability, any misstep in this area could spell disaster. A foldable iPhone with mechanical or durability issues wouldn't just be a flop, it would be a public relations nightmare. Now let's talk about usability. Most consumers want a smartphone that's simple, functional, and intuitive. Foldable phones, by their nature, add complexity. How often would someone actually unfold the device to use its larger screen? For most users, it's not as often as you'd think. Studies show that many foldable phone owners use them in their folded state most of the time. So if the primary selling point of the device isn't being fully utilized, what's the point of the hefty price tag? Then there's the size and weight factor. Foldable phones, even when folded, are bulkier than their traditional counterparts. They don't slide into your pocket as easily, and they're noticeably heavier. Apple is known for prioritizing user experience, and if their foldable phone doesn't feel as seamless to carry and use as a standard iPhone, That could be a deal breaker for many loyal customers. But the challenges don't stop there. Let's consider software. Apple's iOS is widely regarded as one of the best mobile operating systems in the world, but it's optimized for single-screen devices. Adapting iOS to work seamlessly on a foldable device with multiple screen modes will be no small feat. Samsung's foldables, for instance, have faced criticism for their sometimes clunky software transitions and app compatibility issues. If Apple stumbles here, it could lead to frustration among users and damage the product's reputation. And finally, we can't ignore the competition. Companies like Samsung and Huawei have been in the foldable game for years. They've invested heavily in research and development, learning from their mistakes along the way. Apple, on the other hand, is entering this space much later. While Apple has a history of perfecting technologies after others have pioneered them, the foldable market may not give them the same opportunity to catch up. The simple truth is this: the foldable phone market is still niche. It appeals to a small segment of tech enthusiasts, not the mainstream audience that has made Apple's iPhone a global phenomenon. For the average consumer, the practical benefits of a foldable phone just don't outweigh the cost, complexity, and potential downsides. Another major factor to consider is market demand. Apple's strength lies in understanding what the average consumer wants and providing that in a way that's accessible and user-friendly. When Apple introduces a new product, it's usually because there's clear demand, or at least potential demand. Think about the iPhone. Before it was launched, the idea of a phone with no physical keyboard, controlled entirely by a touchscreen, was revolutionary. But the world was ready for it. There was a massive shift happening in the tech space, and Apple seized that moment perfectly. But foldable phones, they're still a hard sell to the general public. Sure, tech enthusiasts are excited about the possibility of a foldable iPhone, but are they really necessary for the average consumer? Most people are perfectly satisfied with their current smartphones, which do everything they need and more. The foldable design isn't solving a major problem, it's just adding complexity for the sake of innovation. According to market research, foldable phones account for less than 2% of global smartphone sales. That's a tiny fraction of the market. And even within that small segment, the demand for foldables has been largely driven by a specific group of people: early adopters and tech enthusiasts. This group is passionate about new technology, but it doesn't necessarily translate into mass appeal. Apple's core customer base isn't necessarily looking for the latest and greatest in hardware just for the sake of it. They want reliability, they want longevity, and they want a seamless experience. They don't want to spend $2,000 on a phone just to have a gimmick. The foldable design hasn't proven to be a game changer for the everyday user. It's not a massive leap in functionality, it's a change in form, and for many that's not enough. Apple has also built its reputation on simplicity. Their products are designed to work seamlessly out of the box without requiring a steep learning curve. A foldable phone, with its 2 screens, hinges, and complex mechanics, introduces more room for confusion and frustration. While Apple could likely make the technology work, they'd have to convince users that it's worth it. And then there's the matter of the competition. Samsung, Huawei, and others have been in the foldable game for a while now, and they've already established a foothold. While Apple may have the resources to make an impact in this space, it's not guaranteed. As the foldable phone market grows, these competitors will continue to innovate and refine their designs. Apple is late to the game, and catching up may not be as simple as releasing a high-end foldable phone. In short, the foldable phone market is still in its infancy. It's a niche product that's not yet proven to be a mainstream success. Apple's loyal fan base may be excited by the concept, but the demand just might not be there in the volume Apple needs to make it a success. One of the more subtle but critical reasons Apple's foldable phone could flop is the company's history of keeping things simple. Apple is notorious for removing features from its devices, features that many tech enthusiasts might argue are essential. Take, for example, the headphone jack, which Apple controversially removed from the iPhone 7. While some hailed the move as a step toward wireless freedom, others felt it was a step too far, alienating loyal users who preferred the simplicity of a wired connection. Apple has made bold choices before, but it's also made moves that align with the core values of its customer base: simplicity, ease of use, and reliability. The foldable phone design, with its moving parts and delicate screens, introduces an entirely new level of complexity. With multiple screens, folding mechanisms, and potential reliability issues, Apple would have to ensure that the device stays true to the brand's philosophy, something that's not easily achievable with foldable technology. Furthermore, Apple has a history of introducing new features only when they can be executed flawlessly. The Face ID system, for example, was revolutionary when it was introduced with the iPhone X, but it was well-tested and worked seamlessly right from the start. With foldable phones, the technology is still in its early stages. Samsung's foldable phones have faced issues with display durability, creasing, and wear on the hinges. If Apple were to release a foldable phone without being able to ensure its longevity, it could hurt the reputation of a brand that has become synonymous with quality. Another concern lies in the foldable phone's market positioning. Apple's most popular models, like the iPhone 13 and 14, are already offering outstanding performance, long battery life, and sleek designs. These models are affordable in comparison to the $2,000+ price tag that foldable phones command. While Apple can undoubtedly offer a premium device, it's going to be tough to convince consumers to invest in a foldable phone that doesn't fundamentally improve the user experience. Consider the iPhone's success in capturing both high-end and mid-range users. Apple has managed to cater to various segments of the market, but the foldable phone would likely be marketed to a very specific audience: early adopters and those who seek the latest and greatest in technology. But is this group large enough to justify the costs involved in bringing a foldable phone to market? We've seen other companies dabble in foldable devices, and while some of them have garnered attention, they haven't exactly taken over the industry. Even Samsung, which has been at the forefront of foldable phone innovation, has had to iterate and improve on its designs over time. Apple, with its commitment to perfection, would likely need to wait until foldable technology becomes far more refined before releasing a product to the masses. Jumping in prematurely could lead to a less than ideal product that ultimately doesn't live up to consumer expectations. Ultimately, the question remains: can Apple's foldable phone succeed, or will it flop? The answer lies in the company's ability to overcome several key obstacles. First, Apple has always been about quality and simplicity, and a foldable phone complicates both of those core principles. While the concept of a foldable phone is intriguing, it's unclear if it can live up to Apple's high standards of user experience, reliability, and design. If Apple's foldable phone introduces too many potential issues, whether it's display durability, a clunky hinge, or software inconsistencies, it could alienate loyal customers who expect perfection. Second, there's the issue of demand. While foldable phones are certainly a fascinating concept, they are still a niche product. Most users are content with the standard smartphone experience, and the foldable form factor doesn't seem to provide a compelling enough reason for most people to upgrade. The market simply might not be ready for a foldable iPhone in the same way that it was ready for the iPhone itself, back when it revolutionized the smartphone industry. Lastly, Apple's timing is another critical factor. It's entering the foldable market later than its competitors, who have had years to refine their foldable technology. While Apple is known for being able to execute ideas with polish and precision, the foldable phone market is already crowded. Samsung, Huawei, and other manufacturers have established themselves as leaders in this space, and Apple will have to work extra hard to carve out a place for itself. Apple has always been about creating products that users didn't know they needed, yet can't live without. But in the case of foldable phones, the question is whether they truly offer something revolutionary, or if it's just a gimmick designed to capture attention. The world doesn't need a foldable iPhone as much as Apple might think it does. In conclusion, while a foldable iPhone is certainly an exciting idea and could be an incredible technological feat, it's not guaranteed to succeed. The practicality, durability, market demand, and timing are all hurdles Apple must overcome. For now, Apple's iconic design, seamless experience, and reliability continue to be what its users love the most, and it will be hard to beat those tried and tested formulas with something as complicated as a foldable device.
Foldable phones are certainly a fascinating concept, but the foldable phone design, with its moving parts and delicate screens, it could alienate loyal customers who expect perfection. Apple, with its commitment to perfection, has had to iterate and improve on its designs over time. Another concern lies in the foldable phone's market positioning. While Foldable The rumors about Apple's potential entry into the foldable smartphone market have stirred a whirlwind of speculation and excitement. If Apple were to release a flip phone, it would represent one of the most significant design shifts in the company's history, marking a bold departure from the iconic slab design that has defined the iPhone for over a decade. While foldable technology is no longer new, with Samsung, Huawei, and Motorola having established themselves in this space, Apple's entry would undoubtedly attract immense attention. It seems like the news of the Apple flip phone is becoming more of a reality than a rumor. Let's find out what to expect from Apple's first flip phone. Apple's design ethos has always revolved around simplicity, elegance, and functionality. The iPhone Flip would likely follow suit, featuring a minimalist yet cutting-edge design that appeals to both tech enthusiasts and casual users. Early reports suggest that the flip phone may adopt a clamshell format, similar to the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip series. This design allows for a compact, pocketable device when folded, transforming into a full-sized smartphone when opened. To distinguish itself from competitors, Apple could employ advanced materials to enhance durability. A key area of concern for foldable devices has been their susceptibility to wear and tear, particularly along the hinge and display crease. Apple's engineering team might tackle these issues by incorporating proprietary technologies, perhaps a crease-resistant display or a hinge mechanism that's both robust and aesthetically pleasing. Additionally, the phone is rumored to feature water resistance, a rarity in the current foldable market. One of the most anticipated aspects of the iPhone Flip would be its display technology. Apple has historically pushed boundaries with its Retina displays, and it's likely the foldable iPhone would utilize an OLED or micro-LED panel for superior brightness, contrast, and color accuracy. Moreover, rumors hint at a potential integration of promotion technology, offering a buttery-smooth 120 Hz refresh rate for both the internal and external screens. A standout feature could be the outer display, which, like other flip phones, might function as a quick-access screen for notifications, widgets, and even selfies. Apple's implementation, however, could set itself apart with enhanced interactivity. For instance, users might be able to access a scaled-down version of iOS on the outer screen, enabling them to perform basic tasks without unfolding the device. Apple's reputation for delivering unparalleled hardware performance would undoubtedly extend to its foldable phone. Powered by the latest iteration of the A-series chip, potentially the A18 Bionic, the iPhone Flip would promise blazing fast speeds, advanced machine learning capabilities, and energy efficiency. Additionally, its integration with iOS would ensure seamless multitasking and an optimized user experience, tailored specifically for a foldable form factor. Camera capabilities would also be a focal point. Apple could equip the flip phone with a dual camera system, featuring wide and ultra-wide lenses, or perhaps even a triple camera setup to include a telephoto lens. Combined with computational photography enhancements, the device could excel in both photography and videography, appealing to creators and casual users alike. Foldable devices, thanks to their unique form factor, lend themselves well to creative shooting angles, and Apple would likely leverage this advantage with exclusive camera features. Why it could flop? The challenges ahead. Despite the allure of an iPhone Flip, several factors could jeopardize its success. One major hurdle is the price. Foldable phones are notoriously expensive, and Apple's premium pricing strategy could push the device well beyond the reach of the average consumer. With competitors like Samsung offering flip phones starting at $999, Apple's iteration might easily surpass $1,500, making it a tough sell in an already niche market. Moreover, the foldable segment remains relatively unproven. While it's growing, it's far from becoming mainstream. Many users are still wary of the technology due to concerns about durability, battery life, and practicality. If Apple's device doesn't address these issues convincingly, it risks being seen as a novelty rather than a necessity. Another critical challenge lies in software adaptation. Apple's iOS is known for its user-friendly interface and seamless performance, but foldable phones demand a more dynamic approach to software design. The operating system would need to fluidly adapt to different modes, transitioning smoothly between the folded and unfolded states. This requires significant innovation to ensure that apps, widgets, and system functionalities scale appropriately without compromising the user experience. Competitors like Samsung have had years to refine their foldable-specific software features, such as multitasking tools and app continuity. Apple's late entry into the market means it would need to debut a polished and unique software experience right out of the gate. Any missteps, such as poorly optimized apps or laggy transitions, could tarnish the iPhone Flip's reputation. The timing of Apple's entry into the foldable market also raises questions. While foldable devices are gaining traction, they remain a small fraction of the overall smartphone market. Consumer skepticism still lingers, with many questioning the necessity of foldable phones compared to traditional smartphones. If Apple's flip phone fails to present a compelling use case, it could struggle to gain traction even among its loyal fan base. Additionally, economic factors could play a role. In an era where consumers are becoming more cost-conscious, the high price tag of a foldable iPhone might deter potential buyers. Without a clear, practical advantage over standard iPhones, the flip phone risks being perceived as a luxury gimmick rather than a groundbreaking innovation. One of the primary concerns surrounding foldable phones has always been their durability. While Apple is likely to leverage its advanced R&D capabilities to produce a robust device, the nature of foldable technology inherently makes it prone to wear and tear. Even with cutting-edge materials and engineering, the folding mechanism and display crease remain potential weak points. For example, the hinge mechanism, which is critical for a flip phone's functionality, must withstand tens of thousands of folds over the device's lifespan. Even minor imperfections in design or manufacturing could result in creaking, loosening, or outright failure over time. Apple would need to thoroughly test and market their hinge technology as not just durable, but revolutionary to reassure potential buyers. The display also presents a challenge. Foldable screens, typically made from ultra-thin glass layered with flexible polymers, are more vulnerable to scratches, dents, and pressure damage compared to traditional smartphone screens. Even with advanced protective coatings, Apple's engineers face the daunting task of creating a screen that offers both flexibility and resilience without compromising on the signature smoothness and quality Apple users expect. Another durability concern lies in environmental resistance. Foldable phones are notoriously difficult to seal against water and dust, yet Apple's reputation for delivering water-resistant devices may compel them to go above and beyond in this regard. Achieving IP68 certification or similar for a flip phone would be an impressive feat, but could add complexity and cost to the design. Battery life is a cornerstone of any smartphone experience, and it could become a pain point for Apple's flip phone. Foldable devices face unique challenges when it comes to power consumption. A larger internal display paired with an external one means the device requires a more robust battery to keep up with user demands. Add in features like a high refresh rate and advanced multitasking capabilities, and the power draw increases significantly. Apple has made strides in battery optimization through its efficient chips and software integration, but foldable devices inherently have less internal space for batteries compared to traditional smartphones. To mitigate this, Apple would need to innovate with either ultra-dense battery technology or next-level energy management. However, even with these advancements, the device might still lag behind standard iPhones in battery performance, leaving consumers frustrated by shorter usage times. Charging technology is another area that would need to evolve to compensate for these limitations. Apple might integrate MagSafe charging into the flip phone's design or offer faster wired charging, but without significant improvements, battery life could remain a deal-breaker for some users. One of the primary concerns surrounding foldable phones has always been their durability. While Apple is likely to leverage its advanced R&D capabilities to produce a robust device, the nature of foldable technology inherently makes it prone to wear and tear. Even with cutting-edge materials and engineering, the folding mechanism and display crease remain potential weak points. The hinge mechanism, which is critical for a flip phone's functionality, must withstand tens of thousands of folds over the device's lifespan. Even minor imperfections in design or manufacturing could result in creaking, loosening, or outright failure over time. Apple would need to thoroughly test and market their hinge technology as not just durable but revolutionary to reassure potential buyers. The display also presents a challenge. Foldable screens, typically made from ultra-thin glass layered with flexible polymers, are more vulnerable to scratches, dents, and pressure damage compared to traditional smartphone screens. Even with advanced protective coatings, Apple's engineers face the daunting task of creating a screen that offers both flexibility and resilience without compromising the signature smoothness and quality Apple users expect. Another durability concern lies in environmental resistance. Foldable phones are notoriously difficult to seal against water and dust, yet Apple's reputation for delivering water-resistant devices may compel them to go above and beyond in this regard. Achieving IP68 certification or similar for a flip phone would be an impressive feat but could add complexity and cost to the design. Battery life is another critical aspect that could make or break Apple's flip phone. Foldable devices face unique challenges in this area due to their dual display setup. The larger internal display paired with an external one demands a more robust battery to keep up with user demands. Features like high refresh rates and multitasking capabilities only amplify the power requirements. Apple has long been lauded for its energy-efficient A-series chips and iOS optimizations, but the physical constraints of a foldable phone, namely the reduced internal space for battery cells, could limit its battery capacity. While Apple might attempt to offset this with ultra-dense batteries or advanced power management systems, the device might still struggle to match the battery longevity of traditional iPhones. Additionally, charging speeds could come under scrutiny. Competitors like Samsung and OnePlus are pushing the envelope with faster charging technologies, and Apple would be expected to do the same. However, Apple's typically conservative approach to charging innovations might leave some users wanting more, particularly when dealing with a power-hungry device like a foldable. On the one hand, consumers can expect a sleek design, high-end materials, and advanced features that align with Apple's commitment to quality and user experience. On the other hand, potential drawbacks such as high pricing, a niche market appeal, and durability concerns with foldable technology could hinder its success. Additionally, fierce competition from established players in the foldable phone market may make it harder for Apple to dominate this segment. Ultimately, whether Apple's flip phone becomes a revolutionary product or struggles to gain traction will depend on how well it addresses these challenges while delivering on the brand's promise of excellence.